Hi, everybody. Angel here, and I hope you're doing great. And today I'm super excited to speak with Stephanie. And if you're not already following Stephanie, by all means, please do so. And her Instagram page is right there on the bottom. FPB underscore doctor. So if you're not already chiming in there with Stephanie, by all means do so. How are
Hi.
you?
Hi, I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
doing great, thanks. First of all, I want
Aw.
to thank you so much for taking the time. I know everybody's super
Aw.
busy.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. I love doing these lives and getting to connect with other plant-based people in the community. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And everyone is chiming in. We already have Texas here. Thank you so much.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so yes, please let us know where you're tuning in from. That's always cool to see where you
Yeah,
are around the world. And also, as we go along, please put your questions and comments down below for Stephanie, and she'll be happy to answer. And while
thank
we
you.
wait for that flow to happen, I'm just waving at our members here. And so, Stephanie, we have so many topics to cover. So I think that
Yes.
we should just get started, and then
Yeah, let's do it.
we will pause and bring in the questions and comments as we go along.
Sounds great. Sounds great. I'm excited to get started.
Awesome. So my first question for you, Dr. Stephanie, is how did you start your plant-based journey
Yeah.
from back then, and how did you get to where you are today, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been plant-based for 5 years now. I wish I had been sooner. I think everyone feels that way when they go plant-based, right? Like, why didn't I see this sooner? So what got me started on my journey was I was actually in school during this time, and it actually was just a funny coincidence. One day, my friend, he was just talking to me. I had no idea that he was vegan at the time. And to be honest, I really hadn't dived much into like the nutrition side of things. And he was just chatting with me about how being plant-based can help reduce your risk of so many different chronic diseases. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then, he's just like, eating more vegetables and fruits and reducing your intake of animal products and processed foods can have a huge and tremendous impact on your risk for type 2 diabetes and
Yeah.
heart disease and autoimmune conditions. And I was like, how have I never heard of this before? So of course, I'm diving into the research, listening to podcasts, watching the documentaries. I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm like, this was a game changer for me. And I'm not one of those people that slowly goes into something. I'm either like 100%, right? 100% or 0%. So I went home, I told my husband, I was like, all right, we're going plant-based, we're trying this out, we're gonna see how it goes. I got a big box, we threw all our animal products into it,
Yeah.
and we just made it work. We were
Yeah.
like, we
Yeah.
started with the transition foods, just like thinking we needed that meat replacement. And, those are great to have in the beginning. I think the transition foods, right? Beyond Meat and Impossible, all that stuff is great. And so, yeah, started with that and then slowly delved into whole food, plant based. And I'd say that the majority of our diet is now pretty much whole food, plant based. So,
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
I want to applaud your friend for bringing this to your
I
attention.
know. He changed my life. Like that one conversation has changed everything that I've done in my practice. And even just, I've turned so many of my friends plant-based and my family. And it's just really been a game changer for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you're using Game Changer because there's the famous vegan
Movie.
plant-based
I know.
documentary, The Game Changer.
I know. Every time I say it, I'm always like, oh, yeah, there's that documentary. It's like, I just
I
like
love it.
inserting it. Yeah.
I love that. No, no, no. And
Thank
it's a
you.
really powerful documentary. I mean, particularly I
Yeah.
think for men who are really into like, performance, and also for women who are really into like athletic performance. I really
Absolutely.
think that It's to me, it's one of the go-to recommendations that I make in terms of documentaries. So we have someone all the way from New Zealand. So it is
I know, I
actually
saw that. Amazing.
actually tomorrow already over there. Happy Friday. And thank you so
Oh,
much for
that's true.
joining. Yeah, it's
Yes,
already
happy weekend already.
exactly. And then we have a really interesting comment here from Jen. And she says, pretty wild and scary that you learned that
Mm,
outside of med school.
I
So what
know.
would you say to that, Stephanie?
I know. I know we had some nutrition training, but no one's touching on the power of a plant-based diet. We're talking about, I mean, we still talk about how, dairy is important to still have in a diet and like your lean meats and different things like that. And yeah, vegetables and fruits, they do get somewhat emphasized, but yeah, it is pretty wild that, it's still not the topic of conversation. So,
Yeah, and just for everyone's awareness and knowledge, would you be willing to share with us, I guess, what your specialization is as a doctor, please?
absolutely, absolutely. So, my training, so I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill where I got my bachelor's in exercise and sports science, and then I was also a swimmer there as well. And then I moved to Southern California for my professional swimming career, and then when I retired in 2016, I ended up going to chiropractic school. That was 4 years. And but now what I specialize in is I specialize in environmental toxins and gut health and working with my clients on optimizing their overall health and bringing their body back to their healing state so that they're able to live their life optimally.
Wow, that's beautiful. And we're going to get
Thank
into
you.
all the toxins and and I just love how you take it beyond the diet. I'm going to be
Thank you.
honest, one of the I guess we could call them pet peeves that I have is that a lot of times when we're talking whole food, plant-based or vegan, we really hyper focus in my experience on what we put on our plates, on what we call diet. And
Mm-hmm.
what I love is that you are looking at this holistically. It's a lifestyle and it's not just, yeah, I'm going to eat my fruits and vegetables and then, voila, magic wand and everything is fine while we're still consuming toxins. We're still, living, a sometimes a toxic lifestyle or at least some practices, et cetera, et cetera. So I really love that you tie that all together, and we'll get more into that.
Yeah,
Please keep your
absolutely.
questions, yeah, please keep your questions and comments coming down below for Stephanie. And so Stephanie, one of the things that really caught my attention, and I'm sure it catches other people's attention on your Instagram page, is that you talk about how you write recipes instead of prescriptions. And that really,
Yeah.
really caught my eye because first of all, I think it's brilliant. And secondly, it's so
Yeah,
true.
thank you.
So tell us, please, what is behind this, I guess, approach that you have?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that a big part of my practice and a big part of what I believe in is our bodies have this innate capacity to heal. Like we literally have the blueprint to heal. And I think a lot of these medications and even a lot of these supplements that I see, and there's nothing against conventional medicine doctors and functional medicine doctors. I really believe that there's a time and place for everything, but I think we're walking around with such overburdened bodies, like from toxic burden, from stress, being stressed out, from the processed food that a lot of people are consuming, and then from just overall exposure to environmental toxins. And a lot of these medications or supplements are used more as a band-aid approach. And I think that when we can really dive into our bodies, like tapping into our body's blueprint to heal through food and through stress management and through reducing our toxic burden, that's when the real healing can occur. And so that's why I say I'm writing recipes instead of prescriptions, because a lot of what I do is just through lifestyle factors. It's stress management, reducing toxic burden, and then I really do write recipes. I write meal plans, and I write, ways to get in food that suits your lifestyle, right? Everyone has a different lifestyle with work and with how active they are, and so I try to make it work for every person. So Yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to thank you for talking about what we call the transition foods because I also started
Yeah.
off as what some people might categorize as a junk food vegan. So, and it was also, someone else. This was, I was on a yoga trip in Budapest, Hungary, 4 years ago, and a woman who is vegetarian. She was a part of our yoga group.
Oh.
She took me to a vegan restaurant. I was like, what? There's actually something called a vegan restaurant? No way. And I had been in my own little bubble of vegetarian, pescatarian for over 20 years. And, it's like, how come I didn't know about all of this? So,
Right?
and,
Yeah.
and I'm like you, I'm like, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to go vegan now.
Yeah, like
In my
make it work.
mind, yeah, in my mind, I thought I was vegan, but I was really plant-based because I didn't realize it was like a lifestyle, like clothing, furnishing, skincare, etc. And so then slowly I realized, oh yeah, it's like everything, as much as we can manage. So
Oh, I
definitely
love it.
I can see that and I don't like to criticize people who are still using some of the processed versions, like you're saying
No,
everyone has a
absolutely
different
not. Yeah.
lifestyle and
Yeah.
they may just be short on time, they may not enjoy cooking, it might be
Totally.
for convenience, it might be out of curiosity, they might want to share that information
Yes.
with other people. I mean, there's so many reasons why we
Totally.
need these kind of transition foods.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely. And I love that you said that too, because I think when we strive too much for perfection, that also creates stress, right? And I
Yeah.
think doing what you can and where you're at in your life is good enough. I really believe that. And so, yeah, so that's why, I'm like, if the transition foods help you and you want to keep using them, like, I think that's great. If you can, maybe slowly over time, we can make it more whole food, plant-based, but for right now, if this is where you're at, I think that's absolutely great. And I actually saw a couple of my friends have joined, some fellow plant-based practitioners. Katie from New Zealand. I'm so excited. Hi, Katie.
Hi
And
there.
then Chef Colin, he's in Florida. He runs a vegan retreat over there too.
Wow.
So cool. So thank you
I
everyone
need to
for
find
joining.
him after just looking here at the what do you call it? The page name so I can go look.
Yeah, right? Just go follow everyone.
I know. I wish we had like a list, but anyway.
I know.
Well, thank you all so much for joining. And please put your questions and comments down below for Stephanie, and she'll be happy to answer. And
Yeah.
while we wait, I want to ask you also about another really cool way that you speak about food is information. What does that mean for you and for your
Yeah.
clients and your community, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh my gosh, there's so many different avenues I could go down with this one. I'll speak to two that I am really passionate about talking about when it comes to food is information on the cellular level. Wow, that's a tongue twister. So the first one is through gut health. And so we now know, right, our gut microbiome, we are made up of so many different strains of bacteria. And those bacteria, right, are influenced by what we're feeding ourselves. And so if we're feeding our body these pathogenic foods like animal products and really processed foods, refined sugar, that's feeding that inflammatory bacteria, which can then cause inflammation in our body and result in all different kinds of, we definitely see that a lot of different health issues are now linked to like gut health, right? And so that's one of them. And then also too, when you're feeding your body fiber rich foods, polyphenols, prebiotics, probiotics, all these foods that feed those really good strains of gut bacteria, they're producing short chain fatty acids, which is decreasing inflammation in our body. So that's one of the things I just love to chat about. But the second one too is that we now know that the types of food that we're eating can literally turn on and turn off different genes in our body. And so that just speaks to inflammation as a whole. And so if we can feed our body these good fiber rich foods, we're really turning off this inflammation in the body, and then we're really allowing our body to thrive. And so those, I would definitely say those are probably the two biggest things I usually like to chat about when it comes to food is information to our
Yeah,
body. So
That was brilliant. And do you also speak in kind of the, I guess, the lingo that the gut is the second brain? Because I've
Yes.
read that, because the gut basically weighs, apparently with all the microorganisms in there, weighs
Yeah.
approximately the same as the brain in our heads. And so and of course, all of the like you're saying, the information, I look at it as power and control and direction that's happening. It's like all the traffic lights, I guess you could say, in the
Totally.
gut. And
Oh my gosh, it's
yeah, so what would
powerful.
you say to that, please?
Oh, it's super powerful. And yeah, we're so when we're born, like when we're literally like in the womb and we're being, everything's building, right? Our brain and our gut come from the same tissue. And they're connected by the vagus nerve. And so that's why, yeah, so 100% our gut is our second brain. It's so powerful. Like whatever is occurring in our gut causes us to feel a certain way in our brain, whether it's like if we're eating inflammatory foods, right? It can cause our brain to start to feel that brain fog. We can feel that inflammation in the brain, right? And so it's like a two-way street. It's completely connected. And the same thing with the brain, right? If we're stressed out here, like I know for myself, I've dealt with gut dysbiosis for like 10 years of my life. And so whenever I was stressed, like if I was starting to feel stressed in my brain, it would transmit to my gut and I would start to get bloated. And so I mean, I've personally experienced it. I'm sure so many people,
Yeah.
if they kind of go
Yes.
back and they think about it, they're like, oh, wow, that is true. Like it definitely is. So that's why things like stimulating the vagus nerve is super important, such as like meditation and different things like that, like deep breathing and just relaxing and different things like that is just super important. And there's other ways to stimulate the vagus nerve too. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down, but you could do things like gargling, stimulating your gag reflex. I mean, there's all different ways that actually really do stimulate that nerve and just create that parasympathetic state that we need in our body. And that's another big part of what I do like to do with my clients is working on stress management, because our body can only heal in the parasympathetic state when we're in such a sympathetic dominant state from our modern society right now. And when we're in that sympathetic state, our body's diverting all this blood flow to our periphery to run away from danger, right? Because back then we were running away when we were stressed. We were running from, like, our ancestors, they're running from like tigers, saber-toothed
Yeah.
tigers, and all these different things, right?
Yeah.
But for us, right, we're in a constant state of that, and so our all the attention in our body is getting diverted to all these other areas and not focusing enough on healing or just focusing on digesting our food or things like that. So anyways, probably a big answer to
Yeah,
to
I
that
love it.
question. But I'm super passionate about talking about meditation and working on the vagus nerve and things like that. It's very important.
Yes, and I've been following your stories and about the meditation practices that you have
Yay!
going on. I think you have a challenge which you can tell
I
us about
do.
also.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of the Wim Hof breathing meditation
Mm.
practices, as well as the
Oh yeah.
Vipassana meditation breathing practices.
Oh.
And then because of my yoga practice, I also got really into like the Ujjayi breath, like, that
Oh
really,
yeah.
that deep, that kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah, absolutely.
the guttural, and that goes back to like the throat and the sounds and all of that. And it's so powerful.
Totally. It really is powerful. I love that you're talking about that, because it really just places you in that present state, which we're always either in the future or we're in the past. We're comparing ourselves to the past or thinking about what's going on in the future, but we're not enough in the present moment. And that creates a stress out state too. So I love that you touched on that. And that's actually why I am hosting a 7-day challenge this week. It's free and you can still join too if anyone's interested. But it goes over my 5 pillars of health, and meditation is one of them. And you get daily emails from me. You get a free plant-based meal plan for the week. And then you're also getting my free 23-page book on my 5 pillars of health, just kind of going over everything. So, but yeah, meditation is super important.
I love it. No, no, no. And I
Yeah.
have to say, I've noticed an improvement in my digestion. I mean, besides, of course, all the stress management and everything and the focus and, not like reacting to certain things that, just kind of happen
Right.
out of the blue. I have noticed my digestion is better, like since I
Me too.
really got deeper into
That's
meditation and breathing.
amazing.
I
Oh.
didn't think that would happen. I mean, I didn't know it would happen.
Yeah, it was just like an added bonus.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
really applaud you with the whole like meditation, I mean, again, the whole lifestyle approach. And
Thank you.
that really takes me to my next question for you, which is
Absolutely.
the toxic load arena. Like, why should we
Yeah.
even be worried about anything other than, the food that we're eating? Why should we be concerned about, the lotions and the creams and the shampoos and the makeup and the clothing and all of that we're using? Why
Yeah.
is that important?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, such a great question, and this is something that I am very, very passionate about too, and just bringing awareness to because I think, and I know for myself for a long time too, I really focused on diet, 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 and exercising and different things like that. And for my own personal health journey, a big part of me getting to optimal health was reducing my toxic burden, which is why I'm very passionate about spreading this awareness. And so I will start with saying that so there's so many different kinds of chemicals and a lot of the products that we're using, like you touched on, like the creams, the lotions, the hair products, it's in the furniture we use in different clothing and etc. And I also want to preface this with after this conversation, don't get stressed out, right? It's because we don't want to create stress because that's
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
not
yeah.
good. But it's all about reducing your exposure slowly over time, and all these small steps, they really do add up. But so I'll go ahead and dive into it. So there's 84,000 different chemicals that are registered with the EPA, and most of them have no human safety data. And so a
Oh
lot of these,
gosh.
I know in a lot of these chemicals, we've now been able to see through different research and things like that, that they're linked to different chronic diseases. They're linked to fatigue and for hormone imbalances, blood sugar dysregulation, even things to do with the liver, such as well, blood sugar is to do with the liver, but also like high cholesterol. I mean, we're seeing all these different things now come into play with it. And I think we're going to see more too as more data is coming out on it. But a few of the things that we know now that some of these chemicals can do to our health is they can impact key enzymes in our body. So they actually can inhibit certain enzymes, ones that control methylation that are involved in detoxification and fertility and blood sugar and all these different things. They also inhibit or they can impair the mitochondria, which is our energy. Like that is just like what produces the energy in our body, right? And so if it's impairing our mitochondria, we see that brain fog, we see that fatigue in people. It also influences our gut. So same thing with the food, how it can impact like the gut health, right? And with the different strains of bacteria, it does the exact same with that as well, because if we're creating that toxic burden and we're ingesting like pesticides in our food and different things like that, that creates a big issue there as well. We see it with hormone imbalances too. That's a big one because what happens is it's endocrine disrupting, meaning it's mimicking our hormones, and it can act at the cell receptor site. And so it can literally influence our different hormones. It can increase, decrease specific hormones, and then it can cause fertility issues. We see it with all different types of issues out there, which it's very, very sad. And yeah, and so that's just a few, just to name a few. It can impact our brain health, our nerve health, our liver. Our liver controls over 70 different functions in our body. We see blood sugar is regulated there, our thyroid hormones are activated there, estrogen synthesized there. We see so many different things. And so our liver is our biggest detox organ, and sometimes it can become overburdened. And when that happens, it sort of takes a lot of our important functions like detoxification and controlling blood sugar and different things can go on the back burner, right? And it's trying to fight
Mm.
off these toxins. And so we see different health issues with that as well. And so that's why I'm very passionate about talking about environmental toxins, because I did personally experience my own toxic load. And I see this now a lot with my clients when they're eating super well and they're doing all the right things. And it's like, but then we haven't addressed that side of it yet. That with stress management, I think, is really key in helping a lot of people. So Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Those statistics are really blowing me. They're really throwing me for a loop here. This is, I think besides, the horrific numbers that you just, quoted to us, I think what is helpful though is the awareness of it. And then once we are aware, as you've just made us aware, now we can observe it and kind of course correct, I guess, if you
Yeah.
will.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said too, like I know these statistics can sound daunting, but really if you just start to make slow changes like over time, like already eating plant-based, like that's great because that's fighting inflammation and that the fiber actually binds to these toxins and helps to flush them out of the body. And so yeah, so plant-based, like just starting with your diet is like a huge step. And then a few easy things I always like to tell people too when they're first starting on their toxin-free journey is okay, so let's start with like your house health. So don't wear shoes inside the house. Whatever you're tracking inside the house, you can be tracking in mold and pesticides and all these different things. And so start with that. Start with vacuuming regularly, wet dusting, because a lot of these toxins are found in the dust and then we're breathing those in. Opening your windows for at least 15 minutes twice a day is huge. Maybe getting an air purifier, that's also great too. But you don't need to, go down that route just yet. You can start with just opening the windows and then maybe opting for more organic vegetables versus conventional. And you don't have to go full organic. I don't eat full organic. Look at the environmental working group, their EWG Dirty Dozen. Go for just avoid those and then go for the Clean 15, the ones that you can buy conventional, right? And then also too, even if you're not buying full organic, you can just soak your produce in like a baking soda water solution, or you can also soak it in like a vinegar water
Yes.
solution, which also helps to get rid of things that are found on the produce too. So, I mean, there's so many ways that you can go about it. And like, those are simple ways that don't really cost anything, or you're just really like changing like something slightly that you're already doing. And so, and those add up to be huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it doesn't have to be super stressful in the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and two things I want to just highlight what you said. Like when I first realized that I was really plant-based and not vegan, for example, I said to myself, okay, well, the next time I go shopping, let's say for some, beauty product or something, I'll be sure to choose the one that has vegan on it.
Yeah.
The same thing for like conventional products. So then I
Hmm.
figured out, oh my gosh, well then some products have organic on it and other products don't. Okay, well then next time I go shopping, when I replace my whatever that was, then I will, try to choose the organic version. So there again, we're like
Yeah. Yeah.
eliminating toxins. So it's not like anyone is saying, go and toss everything that you currently
Exactly.
have out the
Exactly. Yeah. Because we don't want to
window.
be wasteful. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Totally. I agree with you 100%. It's like, and that's the thing too, is like some of us like to just go cold turkey. And I
Yeah,
will say for myself, when it
yeah,
came to like we talked about earlier, when it came to going plant-based, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be feeding myself this food. So I'm just going to, throw
yeah,
it out. But
yeah,
when it came to the products, yeah, I was slowly doing things over time. Like I didn't just switch out my, the things I was cooking with and the products I
yeah,
was using all in one day. Like that stuff really took time. It took,
yeah.
just kind of researching like, okay, like what do I want to use here? And so for everyone joining here, I do have a website. So my website, in my website, I have a shop, and in there I actually list a bunch of great toxin-free switches. Some of them I am affiliated with only because I personally like to use their stuff, so I have discount codes with some of them, but a lot
Good.
of them I'm not. But they're great, toxin-free and everything. So if you are like starting to wonder, like, oh, what should I be switching? I do have some examples there. So
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. And, I really love that you put the air purifier in your study, in your stories.
oh,
Can you
thank you.
tell us about, why is it important, to even think about the air that we're breathing inside?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, um, the current statistic out there when it comes to indoor air quality is that it is 5 to 7 times more toxic than our outdoor air quality. Now, a lot of this is because we're not even opening up our windows. Like,
Yeah.
we're just like, we're keeping them closed and whatever, like we're breathing in, everything is just getting trapped inside. And a lot of things can influence how toxic the indoor air is. And so a lot of that can be like, let's say, maybe you're not, maybe you are wearing your shoes into the house and you're tracking a lot of different things. Maybe the cleaning products that you're using, right, might contain chemicals that are harmful to our health, which a lot of them actually do. So you're cleaning with those every week, you're releasing that into the air. A lot of times with, oh, and this is something else I meant to bring up too, is like fragrance products, like, like air fresheners and
Oh,
candles. A lot of those things actually, yeah, they contain a lot of harmful chemicals as well. And we're lighting those, we're having those, plugged in our wall, emitting stuff into the air. And so that's all getting trapped into the air. And so what the air purifier does is, the one that I personally love is the Air Doctor. It's the most, I believe it's the best one for the most affordable price. And what it does is it is trapping microns, like it's like 0.001 micron in size for like all the different types of particles that are floating around the air. And this can be from mycotoxins, which is mold, to pet dander, to dust, to everything. And and if you are following me and you check out my story, I kind of post something where like just after 6 months of use, I open it up and you can see all the dust that's just trapped in there, and it's crazy, and that's what you're breathing in. So I think if possible, you know, investing in an air purifier is definitely helpful. I think it's really important. When I start with my clients, I love to, after kind of going through some of those easy steps I outlined earlier, I think water and air filtration is really important because you're breathing that air all the time. We breathe 11,000 liters of air a day. And then with the water too, our water hydration is so important for our body and for our cells' health. And so getting a quality air, a water filter is really important too.
yeah, I was pretty blown away, a little bit shocked by the quantity of debris that was in the filter, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is shocking.
There for a second.
No, no worries.
I have a time limit on my phone for Instagram. I tried to not go on for too long every day, and it went off. I need to disable it because I do these lives and then I always cut out. And
It's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
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 but no, I really applaud you for putting the video of the toxins in the air filter, because I think it
thank
really
you.
drives the point home.
Yeah,
It's not like you just kind of say it and leave it up to our imagination. It's like a show and tell. It's like,
I know,
oh
I know.
my gosh.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly that. So I was like, because I personally, for me too, the reason I bought one was because I saw someone posting that as well, and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, that is what I'm breathing in. I was like, okay, I have to get one for myself, and it's true. It really does. But that's what I love about the Air Doctor. It's really just getting all these particles in the air. It's just
Yeah.
trapping it all in. So yeah, making it
Yeah.
cleaner.
Yeah, and so that takes us then to your coaching offerings, your coaching services and programs. What should we know about your coaching services, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but the goal of my coaching services is to so our bodies have this amazing capacity for healing. And my goal is to bring my clients' bodies back to that state where they are being able to be in that nourishing and decreasing their toxic burden and basically getting their bodies back to that innate healing. And so I do that through plant-based nutrition, and I meet people where they're at, like we talked about before. And so I do create meal plans. I create it based on your goals too. And so I do work with a number of athletes. I do work with people that are just transitioning to plant-based. So it really just depends. And I really make sure I'm creating a plan that fits your needs and what you need. It always has the proper micronutrients and macronutrients, and a lot of nutrition education goes into it. So I really focus on that a lot. But with a lot of my clients that are coming to me for toxic burden symptoms, right? And so I also make sure I'm using foods specifically that target that gut health, that liver health, and different things like that, and kidney health, and all these different factors for health. And so that's another thing that I'm doing too when it comes to the plant-based nutrition. And then I'm also helping my clients reduce their toxic burden. So we start like slow, or how slow or fast people want to go with it,
Yeah,
right? Some people are like, I'm ready to switch out everything. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
dive into it, right? And so reducing their toxic burden through a lot of the products that they might be using. And a lot of times and this is what occurred with my healing journey, but a lot of times what I see is that our detoxification pathways, we have 6 of them. And so they can sometimes get a little bit clogged up from like the food that we were eating or the toxins that we were exposed to. And so it takes a little bit of time, but just opening up those detoxification pathways again through some food and lifestyle changes really makes a huge impact. And so otherwise you'll get a recirculation of those toxins if your body pathways aren't opened up properly, right? And so that's something that I also dive into as well. And then other lifestyle factors, work on stress management, activity level, sleep. There's a lot of different stuff we work on. So yeah.
Yeah, and that deep breathing and meditation, that can really help with sleep too,
Oh, I
everyone.
know. I
I
know.
think
It's all
so.
interconnected, right? It's amazing. It's like, oh, I know. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so that takes us then to your challenges. I guess besides, so tell us a little bit more, please, about the current challenge that you have. I think you said 7 days. And then
Yeah.
also what I'm interested in understanding is like, what are some of the challenges that some of your clients face? I guess, what are some of the more common challenges in their
Yeah.
own kind of, life's journey?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the current 7-day health challenge I'm doing is just something that I put on because I just want to, again, bring awareness to environmental toxins and stress management and everything like that. And so I wanted to create something that would be super easy for people to follow and it
Yeah.
wouldn't be stressful, right? Because I think a lot of people feel like trying to embark on some new health journey or some healing protocol, whatever it might be, can be stressful and like
Yeah.
making a lot of different changes. And so it's a 23-page free book on my 5 pillars of health and how to incorporate a low toxin lifestyle, and I also have all the products that I personally like to use with the discount codes on there, including the Air Doctor. It's actually half off their normal prices. And so,
Really
um,
good.
yeah, and so my favorite water filters and all these things. So I have that in there. And then I have my free 7-day meal plan. It's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. It's all whole food, plant-based. And then I also have meditation links that are being sent out in daily emails every single day for the rest of the week. And so if you still sign up, you're actually still going to get the emails for the rest of the week. We're on day 4 of the challenge right now. So and it ends on Sunday, so you'll still get those emails, and you'll still get the welcome email with all the fun stuff that's included in it. So that's the current 7-day health challenge. And then I'm actually considering probably maybe keeping it up in the future. Like I'll take it down for a bit, but then afterwards, maybe just people can join in on their own time. It doesn't have to be a set
Oh,
time, but if people want
yeah.
to just like do their own 7-day challenge, they're ready for like a restart or a
Yes.
reset, right? So I'm thinking of maybe doing something like that too. So it won't go away forever. And then, yeah, some things that my current clients, they come to me for, whether it be like fatigue, right? They're feeling
Mm.
like, they're doing everything right and they're still feeling this brain fog, this fatigue. And that's where I really start to dive into the toxin side of things, and the stress management as well. I think that's really big. And then also another one too is resistant weight loss. And that's something we actually really do see a lot when our bodies are under a toxic burden, is that our bodies, it holds on to that fat. And so by reducing your toxic burden, you actually do help with that weight loss effect as well. And so that's another thing that I usually do see a lot of clients for. And then, like I mentioned before, I was an athlete, and so I do love to also work with athletes on optimizing their plant-based nutrition too. So I do a few different things, but
So
so
do you,
but
this is all awesome. So do you get the question about, well, what about my protein?
yeah, so yes, I hear that all the time for sure, right? I think what we all do is plant-based individuals. But I do believe that when, protein is important, the amino acids from protein are super important and rebuilding our muscles. And when I am working with plant-based athletes, they do need to increase their protein a little bit more than just the regular individual. And
Yeah.
so we do work on that. So I do create macronutrient profiles for that specifically. And even, it doesn't even have to be, like a hardcore athlete. It's just like a weekend warrior, maybe someone who's doing a
Yeah.
lot of resistance training or really getting into like working out, and they just want to make sure they're, their plan is
Yes.
good to go. And we do this through, through like tofu and tempeh, and there's all different bean-based pastas. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many great and they're healthy ways to increase your protein, just having to create a little bit more awareness around it. But it's not stressful, and it's easy to get. The amount you
Yeah.
need. Yeah.
Right, because I know, a lot of athletes are very concerned about getting enough protein. And also
Right.
I would add to your list, people who have very physically demanding jobs. And so they
Totally.
also, although they're not, I guess calling themselves athlete, but they need to be pretty athletic to keep up with,
Totally. Absolutely. No, you're completely right. You're absolutely right. And like I was just saying before, yeah, with the protein, like I mean, it's not just for like building strong muscles, right? It's for rebuilding like all different tissues in our body, and it actually is important for gut health as well. It's important for all different sources of health. And I actually do usually with my clients with toxic burden symptoms, I actually do make sure they're getting at least a few good servings of protein throughout the day, because those amino acids really do help in the healing process as well. And so focusing on like more lentils, maybe some bean-based products, uh, sorry, pastas, and then even like a quality protein powder. Now, when it comes to protein powder, I'm very, very cautious around most on the market, because most are, they have all different kinds of fillers and
Yeah.
sugars and things in it, but a lot of them too have heavy metals and mycotoxins and pesticides. And so it's really important to opt for a plant-based protein powder that is third-party tested for these. And I list a few on my site that I really do like and that I trust. And they, because they'll have a certificate of analysis that usually will be displayed on a company's site that will show you the levels of heavy metals or pesticides and things that they are third party testing for. And so, I love companies that are very transparent like that. So
No, and thank you for mentioning that, because the protein powder question is a very common question.
totally.
And like you were saying, even the average person who's not out there lifting weights or lifting heavy boxes or anything like that, or, running 50 miles a day or whatever, we have this cultural obsession with protein. And so some people who probably don't even need a protein powder are still walking around wondering, well, which protein powder should I be taking? And I'm thinking, but how did we even get here? Like, most people in at least in our modern culture are quite sedentary or quite inactive. Actually, some would say a couch potato even. And so, I find it very interesting that we are so obsessed with this whole idea of protein and protein powders.
I know. It's we're too protein obsessed and not enough like looking at overall dietary pattern, right? And that's where we're seeing like the major health effects is what are you eating most of the time, right? Like not just focusing on this one nutrient, and there's so many other nutrients that we need. So,
Right. And the
so
fiber,
yeah,
even
I
like talking about the
know.
fiber that you kicked us off with there with the whole gut microbiome.
Oh, I know. Fiber is huge. It's important for, oh my gosh, so many things, like countless things that I could list. That gut microbiome, right? Helping in our detoxification. It's just helping decrease inflammation in the body and repair gut health. I mean, it's just amazing. So yeah, just increasing the fiber if possible. That's the goal.
Totally. And what's great too is that the protein sources that you're recommending are also high in fiber, like the
Exactly.
beans, like
Right,
the
right.
lentils, like they're very clean and they're very high in fiber. So that'll sweep out a lot of the toxicity
Totally.
too.
Absolutely, yeah, and like the tofu and tempeh, which are very high in protein, those are the soy-based products. Like as long as they're organic soy-based
Right.
products, those actually have been found to be so helpful for the phytoestrogens that they have and decreasing inflammation in our body. And we see it just impacting so many different areas of health for sure, and decreasing risk of certain cancers. And it's just really amazing. And it's one of the most highly studied. There's over like 100 or 200 studies or something on soy-based. I mean, it's amazing. Like it's very widely studied. So yeah, I always recommend whether, athlete or non-athlete, if you don't
Right.
have a soy allergy, incorporating just a little bit of tofu or tempeh throughout your week is just really great for you. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I do want to pause and say hi to everybody who's joining. We have
Yeah,
another
hi
person
everyone.
all the way from New Zealand. So happy
I
Friday
saw
all
that.
the way.
Yeah. I know.
I
It's
love it. You
amazing.
you have a New Zealand
I
contingency here.
must. Yeah.
I love it. I
I
love
love
it.
it. Yeah.
Yes. And so please keep your questions and comments coming for Stephanie. And we're going to move to our next topic while we wait. And that is, Stephanie, can you tell us a bit about the courses that you offer? Is there anything you want to share at this time about, courses that you offer?
Yeah, so I currently actually don't have any courses there, but I am working on them. So I'm having some for plant-based athletes, from for transitioning. I'm considering doing some for like supporting your body's detoxification pathways, different things like that, reducing your
Mhm.
toxic burden. But I am starting a YouTube channel, which is just started this week. It's I have my first video coming out next week. It's called Thrive Kitchen. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. I'm going to be talking a lot about reducing your environmental toxin exposure there, and then just have recipes and things like that on there. So,
All right, there we go. We got to check out that YouTube channel.
yes, I'm very
Awesome.
excited.
Yes, and so that's in that's a part of my next set of questions for you, which is your future project. So what will your do you have a name yet for your YouTube channel?
Oh, yes, it's called Thrive Kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so everybody go over there and find Thrive Kitchen.
Yes, yes. I think I already created it. I'm like new to the whole YouTube thing. So yeah, I think it's already created. So so go and subscribe if you want. And then I also do I have a newsletter actually. So that I've had for a while, and you can just go to my website, or you even in my Instagram, just in the link tree, I have a subscribe to my newsletter button, and then I come out with a newsletter once a week on reducing environmental toxin exposure and recipes and things like that. So
Awesome, awesome. I have found that YouTube is not as difficult as one might think, at least
good. Oh,
from a
great.
user perspective. Yeah,
Oh, great.
I've started to post more and more videos on YouTube as well, and it's
Oh, cool.
honestly it hasn't been as super difficult to figure out. And of course,
Oh,
any
good.
question that one would have, put in the search bar how to da 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 on
It's so
YouTube.
true. Dr. Google, right? I know. It's like, I know that's pretty, it's, yeah, it's like, okay, if I can't figure it out, I'm sure Google can help me.
And YouTube and Google are the same company, and so it's like it's all connected, right?
It's
I
all
love it.
connected. Yeah.
I
Well,
love
thank
it.
you. That
Yeah.
made me feel better because I am starting. So that's
Yeah.
nice to know. It won't be stressful because it's like, hopping from this platform to another one and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I taking on more than I can handle? But I'm
No,
just excited because I want to be able to get to more, spreading the awareness to more people. And I think, there's a lot
that's
of people
it.
that use YouTube that don't use Instagram. And so, yeah, I think that's important.
Totally, totally. And
Yeah.
that's why I want to applaud you for, throwing them up there, because I do think that you will reach way more people. And also,
Oh, great. Thank
like
you.
YouTube, the way it runs, it's just to me, because it was designed for videos, which is what people are mainly putting up there. Although they do have some kind of like posting feature now, which is very interesting, kind
Oh,
of like
okay.
more
Yeah.
like of an Instagram or a Facebook kind of a setup. But anyway, yeah, I do think you'll reach more people. And so
Oh,
that takes
great.
me to then my next question for you, which is what are the best ways for people to contact you for more information, collaboration, questions, and comments?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can reach me through my Instagram here at WFPD, stands for Whole Food Plant Based underscore doctor. You can message me. I always check my messages every day. And so that's one way you can reach me. Also, on my website, you can fill out like a form there if you're interested in working together, or you can also book a free 15-minute discovery call too. So that way, we can chat about your case and what's going on, what your goals are, and see if we are going to be a good fit as well. So yeah, so those are two ways that people can reach me, and for anything, for collaborations, for working together, whatever it is. Yeah.
Fantastic. So
Uh,
Stephanie, I want to be conscious of your time. And before I ask you for your final thoughts to wrap this up and put a bow on it, please,
yeah.
I want to thank you so much for coming on and chatting with
Oh,
us.
thank you.
And I want to thank everyone who joined, either live or on the replay, and all of your good energy from all over the planet here today. And Stephanie, I just want to just see if you have any final thoughts for us to kind of wrap this up and put a bow on it for us, please.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say the big takeaways from today are just don't strive for perfection, because I think that it can create a really stressful state. And what's really important is just doing what you can in the time and what in the means that you have. And so just doing the best that you can do is really important, and incorporating some stress management practices like some mindfulness and meditation, like even 5 to 10 minutes a day is really like super powerful. And focusing on, whole plant foods to increase that fiber and decrease the inflammation. And kind of like the tips that we talked about earlier, just the easy ways to just decrease your toxic burden is by starting with just opening the windows in your house,
Yeah.
vacuuming, wet dusting, avoiding fragrance products, avoiding those candles and those diffuser things that you can plug into the wall. And then don't wear your shoes indoors and things like that. Like I had said before too, like on my website, I do list like a ton of great alternatives that are toxin-free products when it comes to personal care products and all different types of stuff. Great water filters, air purifiers. And so you can always use that as a reference too. And also reach out to me if you have questions regarding any of those as well. But yeah, I think just kind of working on those are, I think just slowly getting those down is really important. And like I said before, like no need to strive for perfection, but those slow changes make huge impacts. So
I agree. I love it because, I learned this expression some time ago. Perfection is a thief of joy.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and so I kind of think of perfect imperfection. That's kind of my
yeah, I
my
love
my my
that.
philosophy, because if I get caught up in the perfection part, then that just kind of, just makes it, like you're saying,
Totally.
too stressful, and that
Too
impacts
stressful.
everything.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. I love that. Perfect and imperfect. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
Stephanie, I want to thank you so very much for coming on and chat. I am
Yes.
going to save this to IGTV, my stories, and my feed, and then I'll message you after.
Great. Thank you so much, Angel. Thank you for having me. This was so wonderful getting to connect with you and everyone else that joined on today and that will watch the replay. So thanks everyone for watching. But thank you again for reaching out and having me on here. This was really wonderful. I'm glad we did this.
My pleasure, Dr. Stephanie, and thank you to everyone else as well. So you all take good care. Thank you,
Okay.
Stephanie.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.